Yeah!
Woo!
Alright, so my friends, I want to, hey Cooper, you still have a quiz you gotta make up with 5P through U.
Yep.
Same. I got to do that too.
Hey Brent, you got 5P through P.
I'll come in 5th or 8th today.
Just put 100 in.
That's what I'm saying. You might as well.
Alright, so I need about 7 minutes to talk about just the start of probability. I just want you to kind of sit back, relax, and watch it.
Oh yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then we'll get to the blue, and we'll have the rest of the period to review. All right, so we are going to have 2 questions on the test that deal with the z-score. Z-score stands for standard deviation, which I'm sure y'all know what the heck that is, right? No. So let's just define this real quick. There is anywhere in the world, if you collect data, you have something called a normal curve, okay? Now, this is a lot of times how things are done in college. This is how things are scored on AP tests, IB tests, ACT, SAT, any standardized test. It's done this way. Okay, so the very center part of this is the average. And we call the average in statistics, we call it the mean. Okay? So how do you find the average of something? You add up all your scores, divide by the number of scores, right? So there's 28 of you in here. If I added up all your scores on the last test and then divided by the number of people who took the test in here, I would get the average score, I'd get the mean. Is that okay so far? Yeah. Now, with a normal curve, half of your information will be above the mean and half of your information will be below the mean. Does that seem okay so far? All this is, so the area underneath this curve is equal to 100%, or they will say just 1, okay? So if I make 1 a percent, it's 100%. Is that okay? So the next thing that we kind of start talking about are standard deviations. And they have this weird Greek letter that we use like this. So you have a standard deviation to the right, and you have a standard deviation to the left. And then you have 2 standard deviations to the right and 2 standard deviations to the left. And then way out here, you have 3 standard deviations to the right. And way out here, you have 3 standard deviations to the left. Okay? Now, you've all heard terms like, hey, so-and-so took a test, they're at the 95th percentile. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
That means that they did better than 95% of the people who took the test. That means 5% of the population did better than them. That's all related to the same thing. We just start changing what's basically is an x-axis, what's there. Okay? So, as far as areas go, this region right here accounts for 34% of all data, and this right here accounts for 34% data. Okay? So one standard, if I want to go up to 1 standard deviation to the right, you're talking about 34% of the data. If you want to go 1 standard deviation to the left, you're talking about 34% of the data. Okay? So here's our average. So this middle region accounts for, do the math, 68% of your data. Okay? Does that seem okay so far? Any worries so far? Cool. Did it off the top of my head, I got it right. Okay. If I talk about this little, so this is this. If I ran the area of this right here, you're talking about 34% of the people that took the test. If I find the area of this region right here, you're talking about 68%. And then right here, this is 13.5% of your data, and over here is 13.5% of your data. Okay? And then if I get to right here, do this in black, this little region is 2.35% of your data. And then this right here is also 2.35% of your data. And then if you really get the geeky people, if I get on this side of this standard deviation, this is 0.15% of your population. If you get your real morons, that's 0.15%. Okay? So could I go out to 4 standard deviations of 5? Absolutely. As you go further and further to the right, you're talking about a smaller and smaller chunk of people. Okay? So here's a real goofy thing to think about, and I'll leave you with that today, and then we'll go to our review. I imagine most of you have taken or will be taking the ACT or the SAT. Is that a pretty valid statement? Whether you took it or not, I have no idea. So every time you take the ACT in a year, and the ACT is offered a number of times throughout the year. There's the ACT that's offered at the school. There's the ACT that's offered on the Saturdays. There are the alternative ACTs when you need to go take it at some other time at some other testing location. So what they do is they have basically a year's worth of tests. Now, do you think a lot of people take the ACT every year, even throughout the world?
Yes.
I mean, do you think that students in other countries might take the ACT as well because they might want to apply for colleges here?
Yes.
And same thing with the SAT. Okay, which one's the better test? Check what the college you want to go to. What do they accept? You don't always have to take both. Does it hurt you to take both? I don't think so. You're given the opportunity to see how in the heck you compare to everyone else in the world who took this test. So what they do every time people take the test is they find the average, and then they find the standard deviations. And the standard deviation equation we'll go over more tomorrow. But let's say, what's a good ACT score? Is it 36 the perfect?
Yeah.
So if you got a 35, you're falling about here. If you get like, I don't know, I think the average ACT score is 17.
No way.
17 or 19?
That cannot be that bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
No, it's 22.
Is it 22? All right, so we go with 22. Okay, let's just go with 22 and call it good.
It's not.
Okay, someone have it on their phone?
What?
It's just a number.
What is the average ACT score?
I have results from multiple leagues. Would you like to see?
Basketball, cricket, football.
Cricket?
Siri's an idiot. My Siri falls down here. All right. So what they do is actually the average ACT score, you can take it over a whole many years because it's been given a long time, and then there's a yearly score. The yearly score shifts right and left depending upon, how it was done. So colleges usually want to start accepting you at certain markers. Okay?
It's a 20.8.
20.8, thank you. You have a much smarter series. So 20.8 is here. Okay? So if, let's say CU wants you to get a 22, you have to be score over here. You have to do better than the average. Now, are there really bright people taking the ACT? Are there really dumb people taking it?
Yeah.
And then there's everybody in between, right? So, and someone says, hey, I scored a 36, you're talking about 0.15% of the population. Okay, you're talking about a tiny amount of people that scored that. And people are like, well, everyone should get that. Well, then the normal curve changes. Okay, a score of a 36 is not necessarily a perfect score. It's just what it comes out to on the standard deviations, which is breaking up the data to where they want 68% of the data to fall within one standard deviation. Keep going out, that's a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay? So the further you go out, and some of you, if you went through this, if you added this all up, it might not come out to exactly 1.00 because this goes further. It might. I don't know. I didn't verify the math on it. Okay? So how you would state this is I'm 1 standard deviation above the mean, I'm 2 standard deviations above the mean, I'm 3 standard deviations above the mean, I'm 1 standard deviation below the mean, I'm 2 standard deviations below the mean, and I'm 3 standard deviations below the mean. That's how it all takes place. We will talk about tomorrow something called a Z-score, and a Z-score is like, hey, I fell between the first and second, but where exactly did I fall? Oh, you have a Z-score of 1.2. That means you're 1.2 standard deviations above the average score. Okay? All right, so I'll leave that for now. We have 15 minutes to talk any stuff you want to do on, let's just open it up to, let's go to Unit 5 and then we'll backtrack, because Unit 5 I think might be the last thing I have in here. Do I have Unit 6 in here?
Yeah.
Oh, I do have Unit 6, okay. So Unit 5, take a look at first page, Unit 5. Number 5, you got it.
Wait, can we do Unit 6
Oh,
too?
yeah, I did so
Well,
bad on the test.
we have soft days, right?
I did so bad on all the tests. Yeah, both of them. That's seasonal. You know, I just wish I knew how to do any of this, but I don't.
Okay. So we want to graph these, and there's a region that we shade. The top one will be a dotted line. Why do I say it's dotted?
Because it's not.
Yeah, you don't have equal. So this is just a parabola. If I pattern graph, right one up one, right one up 1, 2, 3.
Unit 5.
You know, the funky V things. Wait, no. That's absolute value. My bad.
Where this an absolute value? What?
No,
No, my bad. I was thinking of someone else.
Yeah, you're putting words in my mouth. I'm copying a problem down, y'all looking at it, and then you say, hey, it's an absolute value. Do you see that as absolute value? Hate to tell you, he might not do well. This is a parabola that opens down, correct? I have a vertex at 0, 4. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Solid?
Yes.
Okay. I can pattern graph right one, left one, down one, right one, down 1, 2, 3, left one, down 3. Hey, I found roots. That's fantastic. We're not too concerned about the roots on this one. What we're concerned about is where in the heck do we shade this problem? So we have all kinds of regions. I have a region outside here we could shade. I have this little green region here. I have the region inside here. I have this region here, or I have the region out there. So I have to pick a test point that I would love to pick 0, 0, but unfortunately the green one goofed that up. So I would say this is a pretty simple test point at 0, 2. Agree? And we can answer a whole bunch of questions about that 0, 2. So I'm going to take that 0, 2, which is an x and a y value. We're going to plug it in. So I'm going to get, looks like 2 is greater than 0 squared. True or false?
True.
Okay, so I get a true on this one. Sweet. Do the same thing as plug it in. So I get 2 is less than or equal to negative 0 squared plus 4. So 2 is less than or equal to 4. True or false?
True.
That's also true. So that means I shade this fancy region right in here.
Then can you go over 6?
Hang on, I'm not done shading yet. It's got to be perfect. Dude, we're wasting time.
No, it's good.
I know, it's like, all right. Good?
Yeah, really.
We'll call it good.
Figure coming in here.
Huh?
We're gonna get some figure coming in here with like crystal meth and stuff.
It's something about this seat. I got a dude in my 5th period class. I mean, he starts talking. We're like, I don't know where to go with that. All right, what number you want?
6.
6?
Making a fun about being shady.
Nothing wrong with being shady.
Shady talking about crystal meth.
Being I'm recording, I mean, I got like religious people watching my videos to learn how to do math, and also
Yeah, they're real concerned.
you gotta have the one kid who's getting homeschooled.
Pulled out of school.
You know, what's the great thing about being homeschooled?
What?
You're always number 1 in your class.
I feel like it'd be really boring. It's like there's no one to vomit on another kid in the class.
Yeah,
That's true. All right, we have 2 parabolas. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be probably one I would do on, oh, I don't know. I mean, you remember this equation, negative b over 2a, and then plug in? Now, people are going to start yelling, you remember that, that's not fair.
Wait, we used that equation for problems.
Stop. No,
I would.
finding the axis of symmetry.
Okay. Don't listen to Sam. All right, so I get negative 20, which is positive 20 over 2
Wait,
times
my bad.
2. So what is 20 over 4? 5. So I have a vertex at 5 comma something. Okay, so if I take 5, plug it in, I get 25 square, or 25, so it's 50 minus 100 plus 53. So that gives me 5 comma 3. Yay! Okay, 5 comma 3. Is this one going to work? 5 comma 3. Oh man, let me bring this out a little bit so we can. All right, 5 comma 3. 5 comma 3 is here. Does that parabola open up or down? Up. I'm going to go right one up 2. Agree? Left one up 2. Agree? I probably can't get any higher than that. Dotted or solid? Okay, dotted. All right, let's do this one. Again, we're using negative b over 2a. So I have negative 12 over 2 times negative 1. So that's negative over negative is positive. So that's going to give me 6 comma something, right? So then I get negative 36 plus, what's 12 times 6? 72, thank you. Minus 28. All right, you guys have the calculator. So negative 36 plus 72 is 36. 36 minus 28 is 8. So I get 6 comma 8. 6 comma 8 is up here. And it opens down, so right one down 1, left one down 1. Right one down 3. Left one down 3. Solid line. Okay. So, cool. You know what point I'm going to pick? I'm going to pick 0, 0. And you're like, yeah, but Mr. It's not even inside of it. I know, but it's so easy to do with 0, 0. Take 0, 0 and plug it in. If I plug 0, 0 in here, I get 0 is greater than 53. Is that true or false?
False.
That's false. So that means on the red one, I need a shade inside the red one. All right? So here, you'll like this. This is going to be the ooh-ah moment. So I shade inside the red. Agree? This one we want to make special. All right, is this okay? All right, yay. Okay, so still we're going to use 0, 0 again. So take 0, 0, plug it in here. So I get 0 is greater than or equal to negative 28. So we're going, wait, where did that come from? Well, 0 squared times 12 times 0, it's got to be 0. So is 0 greater than 28?
True.
That's true. So where do I shade for the blue? I shade entirely on the outside of the blue. You ready for the satisfying move? Hopefully this will work in this class too. All right. All right, ready? I shade outside the blue. Okay, so I shaded outside the blue, agreed? And I mean, this is outside the blue over here as well, right? Okay, so what's the region that we want? What color is it? Is it blue, is it yellow, or is it green?
Green.
It's green. Oh, that's so cool. Cool?
We should just like have an extra question at the back of our test that's like colors and stuff.
What?
I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Can you do 33?
33. That's recorded too, so someone's like, dude, he said he snorts glue. All right.
Oh, I remember.
All right, number 33 off of Unit 5, we have y equals negative 1/3 x squared minus 2x minus tree. He said tree. Ooh, find the value of the discriminant. Ooh, that means we got to use the quadratic formula. So we know that x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You're welcome. What part of that is the discriminant?
The thing inside the radical.
Inside the radical, good. So this right here is my discriminant. So I'm going to go b squared minus 4ac So I get 4 minus 4 times negative third times negative 3. Agree? You're like, where'd the 4 come from? Well, negative 2 squared is 4. Okay, so I can cancel that and that. It's positive. 4 minus 4 is 0. If the discriminant's 0, does it touch the x-axis? Yes. How many times? Once. This creates a bounce. This is a bounce, okay, of our parabola. Cool?
One real solution.
And then identify whether the quadrate has no real, one real. It has one real solution. Okay? So this parabola, I don't know what the vertex is, but this parabola is doing like this. Comes up, kisses it once. Okay? I don't know if that's the exact picture, but
Wait, so if the discriminant is even?
if it's even, it will have 2 real zeros. And of those 2 real zeros, they could be rational or irrational. And then if it's negative, it won't cross the x-axis, so you have 2 complex, which we call them imaginary.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. 5 minutes left. What else should we look at?
Does it have to be 5?
Oh,
Can we go back?
where do you want to go? Olivia, it's your
Go to 10 of unit 3.
Unit 3, number 10?
Yeah.
Dude. Okay.
Sorry, well, I didn't know that everyone was going so ahead and so I'm a bit behind.
All right. So number 10, we did, but we can look at it again. And 0, 0. All right, Olivia, this is it. Those are my vertices. I just looked at the picture, and then I'm going to plug each of those x and y values in for a profit equation, and then I'll plug them each into the cost equation. So you can have a minimum cost and a maximum profit.
Cool.
That's really how you do it.
Okay.
So on the other hand, 3 minutes. Well, 2 because you guys all like to leave a minute early. What did I do?
You're crazy, man.
I'm crazy? Thank you. It's up to you. Remember, that's if you're on the borderline grade, a review will justify that I give you the higher of the 2.
There's no curve in it? That's one thing.
Yeah.
Wait, so the review itself is an extra credit, but
No, it's not extra credit. It's just if you're at the 0.3, the 89.3, you show me this, and it's done, and it's done with work, not done. I plagiarized the answers from the back, saying, look, I found all the answers. And that 0.3 could look like a 0.5, which means I bumped you.
oh nice.
Still 6.5 for you, too?
Where?
Well, it rounds automatically.
No, I don't round it. I turn the rounding feature off.
Really? That's a little crazy.
Because I'm that guy. I'm that guy.
Turn the rounding feature off. Even on her kids, that's funny.
So today, it's Tuesday, right? Tuesday I gotta go right over for basketball, take care of that. Y'all better be at the game tonight. We play Chaparral. It was my old school that I used to teach at. Y'all better show up and like just rip into them. It's here. I better see y'all here. And you better get the chant going, we got stir up. So your brother and Hayden, my first year here, we played Chaparral, they started that chant. And it was so funny watching the principal is here going, and he comes over and he complains to Mr. Silva. He goes, it's not fair that these guys are making that chant. And then they started saying, we also have Holiday, because Mrs. Holiday for English, she was also at Chaparral. And so now it's me, Miss Holiday, and then our librarian is, oh sure, I just forgot his name. Starts with a W. We good? Get out of here. Bring your review back tomorrow. Have a great day. Take care of one another. Hey, don't tell my 8th